What's going on, everybody? Welcome aboard another episode of the Midnight Express. I'm your conductor, Isaiah Leung, joining you from the studios here in Fremont, California. I got my guy, John Alcorn. Welcome back, John, on the Midnight Express. John is coming to us live from Austin, Texas, as well as Callan McClure joining us from San Diego, California today. John, first of all, welcome back on the Midnight Express. Glad to have you aboard, my friend. And how are you doing on this lovely Thursday night?
Well, football-wise, we're not doing too bad. I wish this game ended in a different circumstance, but you can see a marriage between Carr and the Raiders pretty much happening very soon. We're doing very good, and just happy to be here.
Yeah, good to have you back here on the Midnight Express once again. Callan is joining us from San Diego. Man, Callan, welcome back aboard the Midnight Express. How are you doing it from San Diego, California?
Enjoying my rare off day from network programming, but good to be here with you guys and helping produce and just have fun tonight. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it was a great show earlier today when we had Mark Willard of KNBR on our program today. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the bulk of our program for tonight, we have some exciting news here at the MI6 Sports Network. But actually, before I get into that, I'm going to have Callan introduce our 31 Days of Hot Takes Challenge before we get to the big, exciting news. So go ahead, Callan. Take it away.
Thank you, Isaiah. Into day number 18 and into our second round matchups, folks, for the MI6 Sports Network's 31 Days of Hot Takes Challenge. You folks can vote in that poll now over on Facebook.com/MI6 Sports. It is a all Stephen Wang matchup again. As we had said, though, that Steve had three of his moments happen pretty much back-to-back again due to, again, the nature of us with seeding and how things have been, though, or how things were put into place with this. But tonight, folks, you're voting for two things from our good friend, co-founder and, again, executive producer of our network, Shareable Stephen Wang. Will it be Gen Z Clutch beating Choke Theory? That is what you're voting for tonight over on Facebook.com/MI6 Sports Network. So either way, we get Isaiah versus Steven in the third round when, in fact, we get that far. But that, Isaiah, is what our fans are voting for tonight.
Vote, 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 and we will announce it tonight. Who won the battle between Gen Z Clutch or Choke Theory? So go out to the stream and vote. And Callan, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the poll on our Twitter account as well, or no?
No, the Twitter account will not happen until the Christmas break, which will be Christmas Eve up until next Sunday.
All right, perfect. So go out and vote in the stream to determine which hot take or moment is the best one. But ladies and gentlemen, as you guys heard in the beginning, the introduction, we have some breaking news here on the MI6 Sports Network. Callan, I think it's fitting that we roll that breaking news segment. Ladies and gentlemen, the breaking news in regards to the MI6 Sports Network is that we have added another member to our network, and that is John Alcorn is joining our network. John has been a frequent guest of our programs here on the network, but he has finally decided to make that transition to a full-time member here on the MI6 Sports Network. John, as a co-founding member of this network, I want to welcome you, my friend, here onto the MI6 Sports Network. Glad to have you on the network. Me and you always go back and forth when it comes to sports takes, Nick Mullins, Drew Lock type of stuff. But hey, man, it's great to have you on the network, and I'm sure you're going to do great things for this MI6 Sports Network.
You could have gotten one show without talking about you know who. I will not say his name to intrigue the conversation. But again, we wouldn't be here, any of us, if we didn't believe in what we're doing. Folks, this is not paid. But we love what we do. We love talking sports. And I wouldn't be here almost at midnight talking sports with just anybody.
And so true. So true, John. John is actually going to be joining Steven and Ryan on Fan Response from now on. And, about that show, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you guys love hearing my lovely voice every single day on the network, but unfortunately,
Are we sure about that?
Unfortunately, I will be departing Fan Response to make way for John. So John will be taking my spot alongside Stephen Wang and Ryan Schreiner on Fan Response. Yes, it's very, very exciting. John will be joining Fan Response with Stephen Wang and Ryan Schreiner. Their show, I believe, right now it's scheduled for every Thursday, but check back with us in the coming weeks as we're going to have more information regarding some future news that is going to happen on the MI6 Sports Network. And Callan, do you have any words to add about this acquisition of John to our network?
Not much, other than the fact it continues to help grow this brand, grow this network again, coming a long way from where Steven and Isaiah were back at the start of this pandemic, and of course being out of work as most of us have been for the past several months, and some of us getting back to work, and it never helps to have enough depth on a roster. So John, welcome aboard, buddy, and glad to finally make it come to fruition. We've been trying very hard, I'd say, for the past maybe weeks to kind of get you aboard, and more so, you know what? It's going to be fun. That's all I can say for it. It's going to be very fun.
Yes, I completely echo Callan's sentiments there. It's going to be so much fun having John on the network. Plus, having John on the network will allow me now to, whenever my teams lose, the Niners lose, Georgia loses, Michigan, we have a replacement now. So, John, thank you so much for taking some of the load off my plate there. But we'll talk about that after the show.
No.
But like I said earlier, check back in with us on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. Check back in with us as we will have more news regarding.
We don't even use Twitch. What are you talking about?
We do have a Twitch.
But blooper of the week. Blooper of the week.
We're trying to get it started. We do have one though, but check back in with us. We're going to have more news regarding future programs and other program notes on the network after the new year. So make sure you guys check back in with us for that. But shall we get into sports, fellas?
Whoop, whoop.
Yes, let's get into sports. So as you guys saw, we had a very, very exciting Thursday night football game that went down to the wire today between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. And Callan, unfortunately.
Isaiah, you totally missed something on the script before we get to sports, actually. What happened before today's program, sir?
Oh, my God. I'm sorry, guys. My brain has just been so... We got a blooper of the week there, Callan. That's why I leave the hosting to you, Callan, because you're the expert at it. But, we had Mark Willard of KNBR join our show today. It was a fun interview with him. We talked about the 49ers. We talked about the San Francisco Giants. We talked about the Golden State Warriors. And also we talked about Mark's career in sports media and how he's, teaching a lot of workshops and seminars and just helping like kids and young people that want to get into this industry, get into the industry. Callan, you were with me with Mark Willard today. What was your biggest takeaway during our interview with Mark?
Not much of a takeaway, Isaiah. I kind of laid out my thoughts on Instagram today because I have a picture of me and Mark from 5 years ago when Mark was still working at ESPN 710, where, again, he would put on these like broadcast conventions, seminars, whatever you want to call them, but they'd be over a 2-day stretch, though. And I went to one of the last ones that Mark hosted in Southern California. My folks let me go up there. It was in the first weekend of November. And it was me and like maybe 15 or 20 other kids that were a part of Mark's workshop. And, Mark brought in so many great people that he had worked with in Los Angeles, whether it was with ESPN Radio, Fox Sports, Dick Clark Productions. But we got to hear from Christine Lehey. We got to hear from Chelsea Cannell Briggs, who was working for Dick Clark Productions at that time, Arash Markarzi, Steve Mason, Brian Leung, who was actually one of the gentlemen in charge of KLSD 1360 down here. But Mark, though, made it so fun, though, for us to go to an environment or go to a place, though, where, again, like I've said this a couple of times, probably not on air, though, but that, that was probably, along with my time in college where I didn't go to a 4-year university, was probably the most productive time I've spent like in a classroom environment in regards to how Mark was, again, very open to having people come to this thing. And not just that, though, but also that Mark really wants to see those out there trying to get their foot in the door, though, succeed. And again, Mark has been very supportive of every student that he's had, though, over his time, whether it be with college or the seminars, though. And sadly, with him going to the Bay Area, those seminars had to stop. Plus, of course, the pandemic has also hit. But Mark Willard's still doing some very phenomenal things with everything going on at this rate. John, I don't know if you caught the interview today with Mark Willard, but more so, John, when you see something like that come to fruition, though, where you have someone who is so supportive, though, of not just their career, but also supportive, though, of trying to make those better or get people like us involved with radio, television, and they go, pretty much bend over backwards to give, folks a chance that want to get their foot in the door. What does that kind of say, though, about that person, that they really want to see people succeed and not fail in this type of an industry?
I don't know him, but he seems like a great dude. I think we need more people like that. Because he already has the right attitude. He doesn't have the attitude of, oh, I'm better than everybody else. Oh my gosh, you're going to have to work on your stuff. Screw you. Give you the middle finger or the you know what that we're not going to say on air. He's that type of dude that is willing to put somebody under the wing, not to make him look good, but to benefit somebody else. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what this world is about. This in Christ, in the sports world, like I say, it's a brotherhood, obviously in sports and obviously in the broadcasting booth, obviously competition, different story. But it just shows what kind of heart he has and how he is as a person. If I ever get to talk to him, that would be an honor, because for somebody to take that time over a 2-day convention and just to help you understand what this industry is like and what it takes, you're not going to find that at a 4-year college. You're not going to find that at a 2-year college. If we had more people like that, there would probably be more people that are interested in the sports industry, or at least potentially interested to go to do what he's doing, to what we're potentially working on for the future. My hat's off to him. I don't see any, and I'm not here to be biased. I don't see anybody else doing that, or I don't know anybody else that has taken his memory. He didn't have to do that. That's not in his contract with ESPN or whoever he works with right now, or what he did 5 years ago. It just shows what kind of heart and passion he has. It's not about him in this world. And I wish we had more people like that in the sports industry, because a lot of times they get into the industry, they get the money in the bank, and it gets maybe a little bit to their head in the success, and they kind of forget where they came from. And that's the biggest thing I learned from him.
Definitely, for sure. Isaiah, glad to see you. Back over to you.
Thank you, Calvin, for holding down the fort for me while my internet was having issues. But yeah, great points, guys. My biggest takeaway from the Mark Willard interview is, Mark is he's got a tremendous heart. That's what I've noticed from him. And you really don't see that a lot from people nowadays in the sports industry. Everybody is for themselves, or a lot of people here in the sports industry are now just for themselves. They don't really look out for others as Mark does. And, for Mark, to be hosting these, workshops, these seminars, and, stuff like that to help other young people try to make it in the sports industry is just really amazing of him to do. Like John says, like he doesn't have to do it. He's just doing it because that's just the kind of person that he is. He's a very kind person with an amazing heart that really wants to see young people succeed and get into this industry, like he said. So, hats off to him. Mark, if you're listening, keep doing what you're doing. And maybe like after this pandemic is over, like me and John and whoever else we can go and check out one of your seminars or one of your workshops. But before we get into sports, let's go into the comments section and see what our fans have to say. Christy Wilson says Cal doesn't root for the Chargers. He's a Bears fan. Yeah.
Bear down, baby.
Yes, I think we pretty much know that. Callan has come on various programs here on the network and ridiculed the Chargers, not the Bears, the Chargers. Christy Wilson also says, I remember Mark Willard on ESPN 710 LA. I believe, Callan, I might be wrong on this, but he was on ESPN 710 LA as well as a radio station in San Diego before he moved back to the Bay Area. Am I right on that?
That is correct. Extra 1360 Fox Sports San Diego.
Yep, Mark's been all over California, whether it's Southern California or Northern California, just doing his thing. And Christy also says, I missed it because I was working. Well, Christy, it is actually back on the MI6 Sports Network page, so you can go check it out when you have the chance to check it out. But, fellas, let's head to our first stop, and that is Las Vegas, Nevada, the gambling capital of America, and we go to the world. Yes, we go to Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders hosted the Chargers in a battle of AFC West rivals on this Thursday night, and it was a very, very good game. And the Chargers come out victorious in a game that went down to the wire, a game that went to overtime. But the Raiders defense, the unit that has been plaguing them all year long, the unit that I've been saying so many times on this show and various other programs on the network, that me, Callan, and Steven, and all these other guys on the network could score touchdowns on this Raiders defensive unit, because that's just how atrocious they are. This defensive unit, they can't do their jobs once again, and they cost the Raiders another game. Cal, I'm going to go to you first on this. What was your thoughts on the Chargers beating the Raiders 30-27?
Not a surprise, honestly, because of how this Raiders defense has just been torn apart, and more so after Paul Guenther's firing. That today, though, and especially on the game-winning drive in overtime, the Raiders defense looked lost out there on that final play of the game, or at least the second to last play of the game, the big bomb that Herbert had thrown, though, right down to the 3-yard line, where there was, confusion across the board, though, on that play, but also they cannot get a third down stop if their lives depended on it, though. And that is what you have got to do, though, is play lockdown, shutdown, third down defense. And the Raiders defense, they have not been there. And I know that you can only fire coaches and coordinators so many times, though. But when you let a quarterback like Justin Herbert Swiss cheese your defense on third down, and I saw it very often in the first quarter, first half, second half of this game, though, the Raiders never got that big stop. They had gotten close a couple times, but never were able to get that knockout stop or that knockout blow on third down to keep the Charger offense off the field, though. I also question the play calling, though, in overtime when they're driving the field with Marcus Mariota, of course, Derek Carr, hoping the best for him, though, with that growing issue he had back in the first quarter where he, again, missed the remainder of the game. But to me, though, the defense, I think, takes a majority of the blame for this loss, though. I do, though, Isaiah and John, have to give a bit, a little bit of some bad vibes or a little bit of, some negativity towards the play calling in overtime. Like, how do you not have a better designed play call second down, especially third down, though, where you elect to run a bootleg and you have it knocked away by the defender for the Chargers? The play calling could have been 100 times better in my mind for the Raiders when they were driving down the field, especially, though, on that drive in overtime. from the 5-yard line. I know they got stopped a couple of times with the play call, but for me though, the two reasons why they lose this game, defense takes about 95% of the blame for this one. The 5% of that loss, though, to me, also for me though, lies solely on the bad play calling, where the touchdown in overtime wins the game. So I think more so, Isaiah, for me, though, it's more so about the defense for the Raiders, but also a little bit of blame, though, I think has to be cast on the play calling on that potential game-winning drive in overtime, especially that deep in the opponent's territory.
Great points, Callan. My big issue with the Raiders, the defensive issues have been documented, but my biggest issue with John Gruden in this game is I thought he should have went for it on 4th and goal in overtime because you know that your defense can't stop anybody to save their lives. So why not go for it? Like if you go for it and miss it, the Chargers have the football at the 1 yard line, I believe, and then or 1 or 2 yard line, and they're gonna have to go 98 yards or 80 yards just to have a chance at kicking a field goal. So I really don't understand the decision there by John Gruden. I think he left his defense out to dry. But John, what is your biggest takeaways from this Chargers win over the Raiders?
I think they made a movie about this, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Have y'all ever seen that movie? That's basically what their season is.
Yeah, it's got some guy named Harrison Ford in it, and I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, I heard that's describing their season. Their season is lost. Your playoff chances were diminished. If you're looking at to making the playoffs and you fire a defensive coordinator, that's how you know the season is over. But again, to my thoughts on this, ladies and gentlemen, when a marriage gets on the opposite direction of what you thought it would be, it's time for either divorce or counseling. The Raiders and Derek Carr marriage is in trouble, and they're going to be getting a divorce in 2021 off season. How do you, in that point, this is what Marcus Mariota has done. In the beginning, he looked so great. Remember his first game, his rookie year, 4 TDs, I believe 13 for 19, 224 yards. I'd be wrong by 5 to 15 yards. Sounds great. And then, of course, he does exactly what he does, and he stinks up the joint, whether it's his fault or not. Obviously, when you fire a defensive coordinator, you're obviously not going to contend for the playoffs. You made that very abundantly clear. I've defended Carr up until this point. Now, again, I don't wish injury upon nobody. I hope he does recover and kicks you-know-what in the NFL. But I think his time with the Raiders are done. But looking at the Chargers side of this, even though I wish this game was a tie and both teams scored 0 points, that's not going to happen. If you look at the amount of plays the offense had for the Chargers, first of all, if you look at this real quick, the running backs, your best running back averaged 4.6 yards per carry. If he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry in only 13 attempts, why didn't you feed him the ball more? Because I guarantee you, if you fed him the ball more, you wouldn't be going into overtime. You wouldn't have won this game in the fourth quarter. This is what they're not figuring out yet, and this is kind of the problem or the progress with having a rookie quarterback in this offense. You're trying to find what is your bread and butter. Look at the Browns. Different system, different coach, but in the same situation in terms of fighting your bread and butter. 60 yards and 4.6 yards per carry, and the running backs total only had 23 total attempts from 3 to 4 running backs, not counting Justin Herbert. I know they won the game. We'll give them credit. But this should be a lesson for the future. If your running back is averaging 3.9 plus yards per carry in less than 15 attempts, he should be getting the ball 20, 25 times per game, because then you won't have to be in a situation where you're going into overtime against a team where their marriage is in trouble. It's time for divorce. Do you blow it up? Who gets the kids or whatever? What do you want to talk about in that marriage? The marriage is a disaster. I'll give props to the Chargers for winning this game. But if this doesn't give ammo to fire Anthony Lynn, prior also the weeks before, even in the New England Patriots game, the only excuse they would give is, oh, we got a young rookie quarterback. We're going to wait for Anthony Lynn to develop them and see how he works in the offense. That, I believe, would be the only excuse. It wouldn't be a legitimate excuse in any way. Congrats for the Chargers for winning this game, but they won, but some of their decision-making was still in big question. I don't think Derek Carr is going to be with the Raiders after this year. The marriage is done. The kids are done. It's going to be a messy divorce. Where's he going to go? Who knows?
Couple things to add for me real quick. This game should have been over in regulation if Michael Badgley makes 2 field goals. I mean, the Chargers have been snake bit for so many years, though, fellas, with kickers that it's just downright laughable that Badgley goes 1 for 3 and misses 2 from beyond 22 yards. I mean, if you're literally like not within 10 yards of the goalpost, this guy's not going to make him. This game should have been over. This game should have ended, though, in regulation in my mind. But the Chargers have got to re-examine that kicker spot or even special teams again and not shuffle the coordinator. I'm talking about getting a legitimate kicker out there, and sadly not this guy, but it's kicking for them right now.
Well, but the only problem with that, though, Callan, is that they have shuffled through like 3 or 4 kickers the last 2 years. So I would say right now, I think you have to get another special teams coordinator, because I think the special teams coordinator was the guy that stayed from the previous regime. He stayed on, and the Chargers, with the new coaching staff, they're still having these kicking troubles. But, let's go to our comments. Shardo Gupta says, I think this is probably the last season for Derek Carr. He agrees with John's point. Also, Christy Wilson says, I think Derek Carr's time with the Raiders was over the moment John Gruden was hired as head coach. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that Derek Carr's time in Oakland is done. John Gruden, every single offseason, you hear the rumors that he's sniffing around this guy and that guy and that guy. I mean, the guy wanted Brady last year, but the only reason why Brady didn't go to the Raiders was because, he preferred Tampa Bay than to play for the Las Vegas Raiders. Plus, the Raiders, I believe, they didn't have that much money to offer Tom Brady. Give us your thoughts on what do you guys think about this game. Put it in the comment section.
Knock on wood, do you hear me? Sorry, that's a Hard Knocks joke he made last year. Knock on wood, do you hear me?
Fellas, let's travel down. Let's travel out west even more to Los Angeles, where we will go to Staples Center and talk about those Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers.
Isaiah, you're missing another topic.
See, this is exactly why I leave the hosting to Callan. He is such a much better host. But, fellas, let's travel to Texas, where we're going to John's home state, where we are going to talk about the drama that is surrounding James Harden and the Houston Rockets. The latest reports, I believe, is that the Rockets have expanded trade conversations to include teams other than the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. Also, reports from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN that the Philadelphia 76ers have made Ben Simmons available, but Daryl Morey, the president of basketball ops for the Philadelphia 76ers, later retracted that statement. John, I want to go to you on this. What do you make of the latest rumors surrounding James Harden, in which the Rockets are expanding trade talks to teams other than the Sixers and the Nets? And do you think ultimately a deal gets done in which Harden does in fact get traded?
I think there's a small chance, but this like what you see in the TV show, or when a relationship is so toxic that you can't find a way to end it. You don't know where he's going to go, where she's going to go. Well, it's just like with the ownership, with the Rockets, and James Harden. First of all, the rumors of him doing, well, we're not going to say what he was doing, and how he showed up to camp, not being physically fit. Again, I'm not criticizing somebody because of the weight, but if you're already have not discussed more than 2 to 3 teams, this shows you, going back to the Ben Simmons thing, it shows you what confidence they have in Ben Simmons. Going by the James Harden will not make a team a winner. They will not go to the finals with James Harden. And this is the problem we do with players in the NBA. What I call empty calorie stats. If I had a bag of potato chips, I'll pretend this is it right here. That is the numbers. Damian Lillard, James Harden does all these amazing numbers, 40, 50, 60. Oh my gosh, is he regular season MVP? And then, oh no, he doesn't get it. And to the playoffs, where's James Harden? He disappeared. So no matter where he goes, he's not going to be the number one guy. You go to the Nets, Durant is the number one guy. It's going to be Durant and hopefully Kyrie, unless he has a temper tantrum, and James Harden. Maybe at best one team where he would go, he's going to be the number one guy. It's over for the Rockets. Unless there's more behind the scenes we don't know about. We've heard rumors in the past of James Harden not necessarily being the best teammate. If the deals not get done, this is going to damage more of their season. Their season's already over. Your championship window is done. The best window you could have had was, I think, a couple of years ago against the Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, in the playoffs in the second and third round. It's over. Well, I don't know what they're waiting for, or this could be just me having speculation, or teams don't want him, or the Rockets are asking too much for James Harden. I'm not saying James Harden isn't a great player, but don't have this, what we call in sports, unrealistic expectation. What we have on paper does not always mean that it's going to resolute to execution on the field. You tried it with Chris Paul. Okay? Didn't work. You tried it with Russell Westbrook, and they were homies. They played together in OKC. James Harden came off the bench, won Sixth Man of the Year. How did that work, ladies and gentlemen? I said it wouldn't work because what they both do, they're both explosive. They get a lot of points, but come to the playoffs, they disappear more than, well, whoever we want to think about. So at this point, they're denying the inevitable, and this shows either rumors I don't give account much for. I bet a lot of teams don't want Harden because they know how he is, personality. He's a difficult teammate. The Rockets are delaying the inevitable. Wherever you go, nothing is going to change. James Harden is not a winner. He's a great scorer. Let me never debate that. But as an all-around player, we talk about winning championships. We talk about Giannis and his legacy signing that deal. All these other guys that have gone from team to team, forming all these super teams. It's over. Harden's window, not just for the Rockets for a championship, but his entire chance in the NBA for a championship is going to be over. You see teams on the rise in the East, in the West. You see what the Pelicans are on the rise. Teams in the East on the rise. Giannis is there long term. They can get another star for the Heat in 2021 offseason. So with the East and the West growing and what they're doing, Harden at this point, his championship window for his entire NBA career is over.
Valid points, John. Callan, we've talked so many times on various programs on this network about James Harden and the drama surrounding him and the Houston Rockets and his trade demand. It started out with Brooklyn and Philadelphia being the only teams that Harden wanted to go to and the Rockets willing to negotiate with. And then it moved to teams like the Bucks and the Miami Heat that Harden wanted to go to, but apparently the Heat don't want to give up Duncan Robinson in any deal for James Harden, which I think is utterly ridiculous to get a player at a caliber like Harden. But Callan, you heard the news today. The Rockets are expanding trade talks to other teams besides Philadelphia and Brooklyn. What do you make of that news? And do you ultimately think that Harden, gets dealt to one of those other teams besides Brooklyn or Philadelphia?
Like I've said, Isaiah, I've said it before, I'll say it again, man, but there is definitely something that is going on behind the scenes to Alcorn's point, though. But as I have said, though, Isaiah, so heavily, repetitively, is that there is more to this story. I think we all know best that when the news broken about Stephen Silas becoming the head coach of the Rockets, I said flat out, straight out on the air, there's got to be more to this story than what we probably know right now. And in a way, though, it's kind of in a way becoming unraveled, though, with how Harden is going to come in looking a bit out of shape, maybe with his size, his weight for one thing. But also that now, though, it seems to me, though, this is inevitable, that there's going to be some type of a trade made regardless of what does happen with it either being a outsider. I don't know, though, like what the best suitor is for James Harden, because John brought it up, though, if he goes to Brooklyn, you're looking at three players with three monster egos who all need the ball to do work on offense. Plus, like I've said though as well, Isaiah, it's a first-year head coach in Steve Nash who's already been walked over, stepped on, and had tire tracks put across his back with both KD and Kyrie Irving saying, we don't need this guy to be our head coach. We're totally fine by ourselves. We'll listen to Jacques Vaughn. We're not going to listen to Steve Nash. He's not our head coach. What does he know, basically, is what I'm kind of getting that vibe and that drift from. More so for me, though, Harden has to go somewhere where there's no other superstars around him because it's not going to work in Brooklyn. It may perhaps work in Philly, but even then, though, you have Joel Embiid and his issues with temper tantrums and his attitude and his ego as well. Ben Simmons, I think, though, could probably use a change of scenery, but I don't see him going to Houston, and I don't see Harden going to Philadelphia. But I just don't know, though, fellas. I think you all would agree, though. I don't know if there's really a suitor out there for a player like James Harden. Because I think, though, guys, that it may be great, though, for like a franchise, like just for example, like Indiana or Detroit to grab James Harden. But then, though, the last thing you want to do, though, is bring a player in, though, of James Harden. Again, great player, though, but again, the ego, the attitude, that can bring a young team down, though. If you're trying to build something great, though, with some young kids and draft kids or, some draft picks, though, and some young studs, the last thing you need to do is bring in somewhat of an age veteran, disgruntled because of how he was treated in his previous market, though, but also how he carries himself, though. That's what I don't think you want to have happen with teams, again, for example, Dallas, Indiana, Detroit, Minnesota, even maybe, just some, clubs I named off the top of my head, though. But I think, though, there's definitely, though, is still more to the story, Isaiah and John. But I do think, though, it's either for Harden, Brooklyn, Philly, or bust. And if he does go somewhere else, it's not going to last very long in my mind either.
Yeah, Callan, I agree with you completely. I think for me, I think that, first of all, I personally think that I know there's a lot of drama going on with Houston, but like I told you and John Mathis last night on Wild Sports Talk, I really don't see Harden going anywhere if Houston doesn't get what they want, because Houston still has James Harden under contract for the next 3 seasons. Like, everybody on social media or, on TV, they're always like, oh yeah, James Harden, he can force his way out. He's got all the leverage. Not in this situation, because like I said, he's under contract for 3 more seasons. This is not Kawhi. This is not Anthony Davis. This is not even Victor Oladipo, like those situations, because those guys were under contract for 1 more year. They could have just told their team, hey, you can, do whatever you want. You can, keep me, but I will leave after this season and I will not stay with your franchise and you will get nothing in return. So you basically have to, either do what I say, do whatever I want, or trade me, or else you get nothing. But in this case, James Harden is the one that, can't really do anything, because the Rockets could just be like, hey, we still got you under contract for 3 seasons. You can't really do anything. What are you going to do? Sit out for the next 3 years? I don't think a basketball player as caliber of James Harden is going to, sit out for 3 straight seasons. And even if he does, that will damage his trade value, because imagine you're like, you're going to sign a guy or trade for a guy, or no, sign a guy that is coming off 3 years of not playing. I mean, that's going to be Le'Veon Bell, but times 3. Look at what happened with Le'Veon Bell. The guy sat out for 1 whole season thinking, oh, yeah, it's going to rest my entire body. I will be fresh. I will be better. Le'Veon Bell has not looked the same with the Jets and with the Kansas City Chiefs. Imagine if James Harden sits out for 3 straight years. Like, what he's going to look like. I mean, he's going to look like a shell of himself. Right now, Houston's got all the leverage. And if you want James Harden, I know he's being a diva right now, and he's, kind of, killing his own trade value. But if you want James Harden, and if James Harden, you want to get out of Houston, I suggest you get your act together, because this is exactly turning out to be the Kevin Love situation in Cleveland, where Kevin Love was under contract for, I believe, 4 more seasons, and started acting like, oh yeah, you have to trade me. If you don't trade me, like I'll just like act like a diva. And look where that has gotten him. Now you can't even trade. You can't even trade for the guy. I mean, the most teams are going to offer for Kevin Love is a 2nd-round pick. That's how low Kevin Love's trade value is. Like, I know Kevin Love and James Harden, talent-wise, you can't compare. but I'm talking about like their egos and being a diva, and that's kind of what James Harden is kind of moving into right now, where he's killing his own trade value, and Houston's going to be adamant because you really think that their billion-dollar owner Tillman Fertitta, who bought the team less than I believe 3 years ago, you really believe he's going to go into a rebuild? I think not, because he's one of the most aggressive owners in sports, and he just wants to win. So they're not going to trade James Harden unless they get what they want. And if I'm James Harden, I suck it up and just play out this year, and then maybe in the offseason, once you get your trade value back up, once you get your reputation back up, then Houston will probably deal you.
Okay.
But, let's go into our comment section to see what the fans have to say about it. Christy Wilson says, teams don't want a player like Harden because he's a diva. I think right there, she nailed it on the head. James Harden, he's just destroying his own future right now. If he wants to be traded, shut up and play basketball, and, you'll end up getting traded. But, hey, Callan, as Laker fans, I'm looking at this situation. I'm like, bravo, James Harden. Keep destroying your future, because keep destroying your trade value, because if you get extremely disgruntled and Houston is trying to move you, who knows? The Lakers might end up getting James Harden for a second-round pick. And LeBron, Harden, and AD. Even though you just give up Kuzma a second-round pick, sign me up, ladies and gentlemen. But John, it looks like you wanted to respond. Go ahead, man.
Lakers, I was wrong about y'all. If you want to keep doing what you're doing to win championships, and of course it'd be a lot harder, do not get James Harden. And again, when I talk about James Harden, I talk about him as a player. I'm not here to judge him as a person. But for you, Isaiah, to say potentially for his trade value to go so low, he would have to sit out the next year and a half, not play a single game, not shoot a single free throw on the court or in practice. There is no logical situation. You would have to go back to maybe his rookie year overall rating in 2K and then trade him to the Los Angeles Lakers in 2021 or 2020 or 2021 or 2022. There's absolutely no way, no heart. The day that James Harden somehow goes to the Lakers is the day that I move to North Korea.
Hey, man. But Christy Wilson, she agrees with John. All hell will freeze over if James Harden goes to the Los Angeles Lakers. But and Chardot Gupta also says James Harden would be a really great fit on the Dallas Mavericks, and
no.
I agree. I don't think he would be a good fit. He would ruin what they've got going on with Luka and Porzingis and company. Go ahead, Callan.
That goes against everything I just said, though, is you can't have a guy like James Harden go to a market like Dallas with two young studs in Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis and have him bring those guys down. Plus, Rick Carlisle will not stand for any of that either, fellas, regardless. I mean, he doesn't put up with a lot of nonsense either.
The owner, Mark Cuban, his personality where he don't put up with no bull hog. You act that way, you're gone. And this is the promise. When you have something good in a relationship, just like you got with Redick and all the guys you have with the Mavericks, do not screw it up for something that looks better. You bring James Harden to this team, he wouldn't last half a season, because I don't know Mark Cuban, but as a businessman, he's very smart. When situations go wrong, he takes ownership. If you bring him or James Harden to the organization, Mark Cuban would have to rip all the hair out of his head before James Harden is gone in like 15, 20 games. It's an interesting idea, but folks need to understand, just because it's an interesting idea or it looks sexy does not mean you should do it.
Plus, I don't think the fit between Harden and Luka would work out, because they both need the ball in their hands to succeed. And like, if Harden if he's going to go to Brooklyn, right, he's going to have to do the same thing he would in Dallas, which is play off the ball. And Harden hasn't shown a willingness to play off the ball. I think that's that's one of the main reasons that is just killing his trade value right now is he needs the ball. He needs the ball in his hands. And a lot of the teams that are contending for championships already have primary ball handlers on their ball club. Also, Christy Wilson says, no way in hell that Harden goes to Dallas. You're right, Christy. She's going to LA to pair with LeBron in the purple and gold.
No.
I trade Anthony Davis. But
record that and put it on a blooper. He said he would trade Anthony.
it is. Like, I see
what?
Yes.
For James Harden. Put that on a blooper. I will find it tonight, screen record it, save it to my phone. So whenever this happens, or not, obviously this is not going to happen, or whenever in the future you get a job, I'm going to play that video. That blasphemy from your mouth is almost as bad as anything I've seen. You should be ashamed. You can forge a sports card all you want, but you've already lost it.
Well, I mean, John, I think that Callan and the rest of Laker Nation would probably say that I can't talk Lakers basketball because you're looking at the same guy that said 2 years ago that he would trade LeBron James for Devin Booker. Straight up.
Is. Like, I see what?
Yes.
No, you said Luke Walton over LeBron James almost 2 years ago.
I was going to say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I said Luke Walton and I said Devin Booker as well. So I think that Callan and the rest of the gang would probably think, or they've probably already taken my Lakers card and also banned me from going to the Staples Center forever. But, ladies and gentlemen,
go back rooting for the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, let's move out west, ladies and gentlemen. We are going 1,547 miles out west, back to California, to Los Angeles, California, paradise, to talk about the Los Angeles Clippers and the situation going on with Kawhi Leonard right now. I believe TMZ reported the other day that Jerry West promised one of Kawhi Leonard's associates $2.5 million if he were to persuade Kawhi Leonard to join the Los Angeles Clippers. In that report, it's being stated that that associate of Kawhi, he told Jerry West the blueprint of what the Clippers needed to do to get Kawhi Leonard to Los Angeles to play for the Clippers. And now the NBA has launched an investigation over those recruitment allegations. Callan, I mean, I think we kind of knew something fishy was up. When Kawhi Leonard joined the Clippers, I mean, there were rumors floated out that the uncle demanded a private jet and ownership stake in the Lakers franchise if they were to join it, or any franchise, if Kawhi were to join that team, that they would demand an ownership stake as well as a private jet and also a private, I believe, a private car or something like that. But, Callan, what do you make of the NBA investigating these, allegations into potential or into Kawhi's associate being promised $2.5 million to try to persuade Kawhi to go to the Clippers, as well as Jerry West promising Kawhi and his camp a bunch of stuff if Kawhi joined the Clippers?
Where do you start with this organization? Where do you start? Do you start now? Do you start with Donald Sterling? Do you start with them in San Diego? Or do you start all the way back in Buffalo as the Braves? Because this franchise has just not gotten able to get out of their own way, and it's drama after drama after drama with this second fiddle organization in Los Angeles. And how ironic that two teams that are in LA that are second fiddle to the big bad Lakers and the Rams both came from my hometown, for one thing. But to me, Isaiah, it seems, though, that whenever the Clippers get nice things, something out of the blue comes and drags this franchise down the drain. In regards to the Donald Sterling incident, 2011, 2012, 2013, of course, with those tapes coming out about his remarks towards Magic Johnson and Elgin Baylor. that were Laker greats, of course, and his racist remarks where you had the Clippers franchise, kind of in a way begin that 180 in regards to the sponsorship dropouts, the blacked out advertisements at Clipper playoff games, them wearing their Clipper warm-up jerseys inside out during warm-ups. And, of course, the ultimate banning of Sterling for life and that $2.5 million fine levied on them by the front office and by Adam Silver. Then, of course, the ownership change, the identity change with the new logo and stuff like that with Steve Ballmer. Still, though, trying to find their niche, though, with the Lakers going down the drain. But yet, though, Isaiah, they still find a way to ruin what's great already with this organization. And there's been a lot of great moments in this franchise history. And you're talking about a franchise who's left 2 different markets, gone to play in Los Angeles, and has always been, the redheaded stepchild, the little brother to the Lakers. And even though that the little brother was on top for a bit, they never were truly on top in regards to getting that championship and finally placing, a banner in the rafters, crowded already by the Lakers, the Kings, and oh, by the way, the WNBA team has 3 more championships than the LA Clippers. It's gotten worse and worse. But with this one, though, Isaiah, to me, though, it's more startling and shocking that the logo of the NBA, Mr. Clutch himself, is at the center point of this issue. And more so, it's more of I believe I also read, though, Isaiah, from ESPN, it's more of a tampering allegation more than an actually infringement from a third party. So now you're looking at maybe draft pick losses, but a $10 million fine against the Clipper organization. I know that's chump change to Steve Ballmer, but Isaiah, you're looking, though, at in 2 separate instances within the last 8 years, roughly, if not longer, the Clippers get fined a total of $12.5 million because of Sterling, and now another blunder by their front office. Shameful for an organization trying to get themselves on top, and even more shameful that it's Jerry West that's stuck in the controversy this time around, in my mind.
Yeah, Calvin, I just want to, give some corrections from what I said previously about this story. I just read the article. So apparently what happened is that Johnny Wilkes, who is Kawhi's associate, really close friend of Kawhi Leonard, is suing Jerry West because he alleges that Jerry West promised him $2.5 million if he were to help the Clippers sign free agent Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi was a free agent at that time in 2019. Wilkes also says that he helped facilitate a deal between Jerry West and Kawhi Leonard's Uncle Dennis, in which Jerry West would give Uncle Dennis a Southern California home and a travel expense account, as well as a private jet. I mean, I think some of these rumors did come to light back when Kawhi signed with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think Stephen A. Smith brought it up that Uncle Dennis asked for private jets in meetings with teams. People laughed at him at that time, but it looks like Stephen A. Callan might have been right all along with some of these rumors. But John, what do you make about this story that Jerry West is potentially in hot water with the NBA for promising Kawhi Leonard's associate all these big things?
Good things in life aren't free. You can't cheat. I'm not saying cheat or find the easy route to anything, especially winning a championship in the NBA, NFL, hockey, WNBA, any sport you play, anything you want. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to work your butt off for it and have late nights. What I don't understand, at least from Kawhi's perspective, when you win the championship with the Raptors, whether it's because injured, whatever, he won a championship with a team in Canada and did with also in San Antonio. I also believe contention for Defensive Player of the Year, something very close to that extent. It is so much easier to re-sign with the Raptors and to be in contention for championships. And if you could win, you could easily, like, look at last year with the East, way before we knew about Kobe was going to happen. You could have had a much better path, and I believe would had a contend more chance against the Lakers in the finals. And you could have maybe another championship or 2 in the future, and you could have been a top 5, top 6 player, or at least talked about it for all time. But instead, this is the frustrating thing about sports media is that some people will try to take the easy way. Why wouldn't Kawhi stay with the Raptors? I understand he's a free agent. This is his decision. He's a grown man. Of course, other things happen behind the scenes. When this first happened, or the signing with him and Paul George, like this is great for the Clippers. But I was also asking my friends at the time, sports fans, before I met y'all on the MI6 Sports Network, why wouldn't Kawhi just stay with the Raptors? He was already loved before he even started the 2018 NBA season. And you win a championship, the NBA championship for Toronto. You come back, you can get whatever you wanted, a much easier path to the finals. Instead, you go to the Clippers with the history of that organization, knowing that your head coach you had at the time is the most overrated head coach. It's not one of the most overrated head coaches in the NBA. I believe the record is when he's down 3-1. I believe he's 0-3 or 1-4. Or I may be a little bit off on that, but he has a losing record when he's behind. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the thing about sports.
John, I believe the record is actually when he has a 3-1 lead, he's 0-4, I believe, when holding a 3-1 lead.
My apologies. I was wrong on that. But it still sustains it. Doc Rivers is not a winner. You had Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, who I've been critical about, but there's no doubt he has potential. And what did Chris Paul do last year with the Thunder? With that team that wasn't even considered to win 15 to 20 games. I believe they did pretty well in the playoffs last year, to a certain extent, of course. But look what he did with that team. Look what you didn't do with the Clippers with those two players. Just like you were just saying, Callan, with the Donald Sterling incident, we all can agree that he should never, obviously, not just from the NBA, from any sports event, even live on Facebook or even on Instagram. I don't wish harm, and I would not wish harm on anybody. But with that being said, the Clippers have a history, like you just said, of kicking themselves in the ear. I'll say the ear. Championships are earned. Ask the Lakers. 10 years of straight losing, if not getting to a championship. We had 2014 when Jeremy Lin and all that is, oh yeah, we won our 15th game of the season. We're a bad, you know what? And of course, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, went on to Billy Jimmy Kimmel. Was like, bro, what are you doing? To now, years later, to winning a championship. That wasn't bought. That wasn't brab. There was no scandal. Nothing in life is earned easy. It's not like I went to a sports group and, oh, can I be a part of it? I'll bribe you. Just like with the situation with Kawhi and PG-13. When PG-13 said he was here to stay with the Thunder, at some point, I am disgusted with the Clippers. I'm disgusted with Kawhi and everybody that's surrounded with it. Kawhi had a much better path to a championship, and he screwed it up for an organization that if they weren't going to win it this year, he's out after 2020.
Yeah, great points, John. This is true, right? If this is a true story, we don't know if it's true or not because, obviously they're going to go through the legal process in court to figure it out. But if this story is true, Callan, I think Jerry West's legacy is tarnished. I really do, because I know he's built such a great legacy, both as a player and as an executive. But for him to be embroiled in this mess, and for him to do what he's being alleged of doing, Jerry West should be ashamed of himself. I mean, Jerry West has been in the NBA for, I believe, the last 60 years. You know all the ins and outs of the NBA. You know the rules and everything like that. Jerry West has been regarded as a man who, he follows the rules in the NBA. He doesn't cheat his way to a title. He's a great man. He's a trustworthy man. And for him to be embroiled in this mess it's embarrassing. And if it's true, Jerry West's legacy is tarnished forever. He should be ashamed of himself. But let's move to our comment box. Christy Wilson says more Clippers drama. Callan, if only Kawhi Leonard had joined the good side instead of the evil side, we wouldn't be embroiled, or he wouldn't be embroiled in any of this mess and look like the diva that he is right now. Christy Wilson also says the Clippers are a complete dumpster fire. They are a complete dumpster fire, and they just signed Paul George to that 4-year extension to get him to stay in LA for the next 5 years. Good luck with that, Clipper Nation. But fellas, let's travel 2,418 miles east to Gainesville, Florida, where we'll talk about a story that we broke on Saturday night, where Florida forward Keontae Johnson collapsed. I believe it was during a timeout during the Florida Gators game. The latest reports coming out of Gainesville has actually been some very, very positive news. Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland yesterday visited Keontae Johnson, and this is what he had to say to Sports Scene Radio in Florida. He said, and I quote, "First off, let me say the information we're getting about Keontae has been really, really positive in the last 48 hours. Everybody saw what his parents put out yesterday. I actually had a chance to visit him. I was in Dallas at the college football playoff meeting that got back late yesterday afternoon and was able to go straight to the hospital. Had a chance to see him. He was actually wide awake. He was actually sitting up in a chair. You could tell that he's still been sedated, so he was still a little bit groggy, but he thanked me for coming by. It was good to see him, and it was good to see him sitting up as well in front of his family and his parents. That is just some very, very good news. Also, Scott Strickland, the Florida Athletic Director, added, I'm told today that he's even progressed a lot since then, that he's having good conversations with his doctors, with his coaches. He's smiling, he's laughing, still undergoing more tests. I think that the tests have gone back so far, have been positive from a medical standpoint. His prognosis seems to be trending in the right direction, but we still have a lot of questions. The medical folks have a lot of questions. They want to make sure they get answered. This is a really good turn of events because, after what happened on Saturday, there were reports and rumors that he was in a coma and things were looking really, really grim. And, it was just not looking really good for Keontae Johnson, and to see that how he has progressed from those grim stages to where we are right now, where he's talking with his parents, talking with his doctors, talking with his coaches, having great conversations with them, and laughing with his teammates is just really amazing. Callan, I want to go to you first on this. We've heard the update about Keontae Johnson. What is your thoughts as you hear those latest reports about Keontae Johnson?
I agree about it being grim. When I heard the news about it being a coma, I'm just like, oh my goodness. It's like, is this COVID related? I think right away, though, it's like, is this COVID related? Is this maybe some side effects of having the illness in regards to how we have seen, though, guys, some college conferences having testing done on the heart for cardiovascular issues that may, in fact, come with COVID issues. But to hear the, kind of go from, an all-time low to a very good high, not a great all-time high, but a very good incline on the graph is super, super good to hear. Because I think the last thing, though, that I think we needed to have happen for especially guys in college, and I know that, of course, we said our piece, though, or at least I did, about, people having their thoughts of, cancel college athletics for this year. We don't need to have these guys playing. Let's just keep people like me out of work for the next, year or so or longer than that. But not just that, though, is that if this would have happened, though, where if in fact it would have went down or it would have gotten way worse, then I would have seen that happening. But to see him, though, make the recovery, him, again, being able to kind of get things back in place, seeing teammates and ADs or coaches, staff members, his family, again, this is just, the start of hopefully a very speedy and good recovery for Keontae Johnson, who, by the way, was named the SEC preseason player of the season. But like we had said, though, I think, gents, we had talked about this over the weekend on the night shift, was, John spoke a lot about the brotherhood that team sports does have and the teammates you make, the relationships you make and stuff like that. And you can't put a price tag on that, especially when you see a teammate go down like this, though, where guys are shaking. I might want to add, or going to add, though, Isaiah, that per the report that we had gathered, though, is that the next 3 games for Florida are in fact postponed, as they in fact try to navigate this course with Keontae and his issue right now, and kind of give the guys maybe a chance to kind of catch their breath a little bit more, though. But hey, the brotherhood's there, though, the coaches, players, and things like that. And again, just hoping for all the best for Keontae as he makes hopefully a very speedy and full recovery within the hopefully the next couple days, or for that matter, next several weeks.
Yeah, great points, Cal. And John, I'm going to hand it over to you, my man. What is your thoughts on the latest reports surrounding Keontae Johnson?
First of all, number 1, don't tell me prayer doesn't work. Number 2, this is what another side of sports I think people need to see. It's not just about playing on the court. It's not just about throwing the ball down the field. The reason why I guess I can see get a little, I don't want to say emotional about it, but I don't know the guy. I don't know him. I don't know his family or anything like that. But to the point where it collapsed during a timeout to a coma, and to now FaceTiming with his family. This article came out about 2 to 2.5 days ago. But now FaceTiming with his family, with his teammates too, collapsing on the court, then having a coma, to doing that, not even, let's say today is, or at least for me, today is Friday, not even a week later. I mean, that's what we love about sports, though. That's that brotherhood. I know we iterate this. I know that Colin just talked about this, but this is the other side of sports that people don't think about. Stuff that happens behind the scenes. I think this is a very great story. It does give people a lot of hope. I do wish him the best and his family to make that our miraculous recovery less than a week later. It just shows what prayer does. It just shows the brotherhood and how strong of a man this guy is. This is not just a regular story. This is not just a guy, oh, he broke his ankle or ACL. Obviously, that is very serious. This was life-threatening. We thought, oh, something could have turned for the worse, and oh my gosh, he's in a coma. I think this is a great story, and this is what I want to bring on the show tonight to bring some hope. I mean, you just never know. I might say I don't wish this upon nobody. But that injury that happened to him, I don't know what it's related to, but it's saying at any point, if this doesn't teach anybody anything, just in life or sports, faith, whatever, at any moment something can happen. To take advantage of the people that you care about, because just like him, even though it is an amazing story and it should bring hope, that anything can happen at any moment.
Well said.
Yeah, I completely echo those statements, John. It's so great to hear that Keontae Johnson is feeling well. He's progressing up to the stage that he's now talking with family, joking around, laughing. It's just so great to see, and we continue to wish him nothing but the best and a speedy recovery moving forward as he continues his recovery from what happened on Saturday. Prayers go out to him and his family as he continues his recovery. But guys, tonight we are going to end this program with one of your favorite segments here on the MI6 Sports Network, and that is bloopers of the week. I know we always do that on the night shift, but we're bringing it back tonight on the Midnight Express because why not? It's Thursday. We've had a very, very long day. We've had a very long week. Everybody needs some laughs to end the week with, or not end the week with, to get through the rest of the week with. But Callan, first up on the blooper of the week, my friend, is from one of my favorite restaurants, McDonald's. Take it away.
No, Eric! No! No! What the?
Can we roll that again?
No, Eric! No! No! What the?
There goes all that food they bought right down the drain.
I was gonna ask, when I first saw it, I was like, did the bag rip when he was dancing? But
No! Eric! No! No! What the?
It looks like it
It
opened up
looked
on
like
the
it was
side.
a plastic. Looked like it was a box.
It
yeah,
was a box with a bunch of food. And I think he was moving it round and round, and that slip hole cover probably opened up, and all the food came out. I mean, first of all, I'm all for exactly what a waste of food. I'm all for jamming out of my music, but bro, if you're doing something, be careful with your food or your phone. I've learned that the hard way with bending my last phone. But food, bro, I really hope that wasn't for your mom or your dad, because oh boy, or some family, because oh boy, if it was for a kid's party, oh boy.
Just don't do it with a beer in your hand either, right, John?
Yes, that's definitely don't do it with a beer in your hand. But I don't eat McDonald's. How does this even happen? Like,
No! Eric! No! No! What the?
Way
at
to
least
go,
put the
Eric.
food down. Oh gosh.
that looked like two boxes of fries,
It's
three
and a
chicken,
couple of cheeseburgers.
chicken nuggets, and then a couple of cheeseburgers. I mean, my God, I think they probably spent at least $20 on that, and $20
Probably more.
maybe it looked like more, but all that right down the drain, man.
No! Eric! No! No! What the?
And look at that guy grabbing the fries as like on the ground. What are you doing, man?
Dude, what
He's
if
gonna
some
get the
kid
Rona
peed
now.
on the what if some kid peed on the sidewalk and now you're eating those fries off? I mean, you just never know. With dogs, all that, or there could be some flavored fries.
Let's move on to our next blooper. And we've been talking about the 49ers offensive line and their atrocious blocking the last several months here on the network. And
I don't
we
think
have
there was a
another
Big Mac in there.
Yes, Christy Wilson says, "Are you sure there wasn't a Big Mac in there?"
I didn't see one.
I
Yeah,
hope not, because you've already wasted a bunch of food, much less a. Oh boy.
It looked like it was like couple of cheeseburgers and a McChicken, maybe.
Sandwich, fries.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Big Macs, I just had to get this out there. McDonald's is doing a holiday special every day. If you spend, yes, if you. We're doing advertisement for McDonald's now,
Just
Sally.
have to say that. No.
But go to McDonald's and get yourself a free Big Mac with $1.
Oh,
Or just get a regular. No, I'm not saying. Nope.
no,
Get yourself a coffee too.
no.
No.
But, as I was saying earlier, we've been talking a whole lot about the Niners and their atrocious blocking this entire year by that pathetic offensive line. Here is another example from this past week's game against the Washington football team. We call this blooper, "What are you doing?" number 67.
Colton Mikovits.
Y esa no se la lleva Chase Young. Ven cómo acelera ahí. Y bajan. Captura sobre Mullins.
Goal!
I don't even know what he was saying, folks. But all I can say he was thinking is, I've seen some bad offensive line play, but that has to be the biggest brain fart. Like, how much air do you have to have in your head to be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Is he like blind or something? I mean, guaranteed, we all know what I think about the quarterback, but there's no doubt that he should be forced to retire from the NFL. Because you should, at best, get an offer from Whataburger, a 3-year deal at $9 an hour. Because if you can't even do a simple block, again, I understand this Chase Young and all these guys.
Chase Young wasn't even going at him.
That's what makes it even worse. Play your blocking of that is worse than anything I've seen. That was worse blocking than it was a girl trying to block me because she wanted to friend zone me. That's how bad it was. Like, how do you have such bad offensive line play? Like, you need to retire. This is worse than the Richard Incognito situation years ago. He not getting the job done. Like, how do you? I don't know why I keep repeating myself. It's driving me crazy. I'm not even a 49ers fan.
Callan, John, this is what I have to witness every single week. Imagine.
Sure, I get to watch two terrible quarterbacks every week. Let's move on.
And my team didn't play with the quarterback once this year, so.
That is Chase Young right there. What? I mean, my God, that guy deserves to be, like John said, kicked out of the NFL and go flip burgers at McDonald's. I mean, he should be ashamed of himself.
Or dropping burgers at McDonald's like that last video we saw.
But moving on to our fourth blooper, it involves the MVP of the NFL. I mean, fellas, the NFL MVP is not safe from our blooper reel. And tonight we have the MVP doing something extremely stupid.
I tell you what, both his coaching staff, everyone knows about Andy Reid. Brian Flores is really ramping up.
3rd and 12, they got Mahomes. My goodness, that might be the sack of the year. Jerome Baker knocks him down.
This is
First of all, credit Jerome Baker for that sack. I mean, that is like great athleticism over there. You know, Mahomes running around and you're somehow able to chase him down and catch him. But Patrick Mahomes, before Callan and John goes, Patrick Mahomes, you are great. But there's just sometimes that you just have to throw the ball away instead of running around trying to make magic happen and end up being in a disastrous play like that where you cost your team 30 yards. I mean, I think that was what? Second down, Callan? If we could see that again, I think that was
Third and
second down.
12.
It was 3rd and 12. It ended up being 4th and 42. Throw the ball away, Patrick Mahomes.
Didn't matter. We still won the game.
Yeah, every great player is going to have those mistakes. But this isn't Madden 2004 where you can just juke out all the guys that run for the end zone. But at the end of the day, they won. So it sucks for me.
And won the AFC West division again. Sorry to the guy in square one.
You know what, Callan? I already have therapy tickets.
I mentioned the guy in square one, John. You're in square two because he picked Denver to win the AFC West.
Ooh, I'm gonna tag Drew Luck in that thing on Instagram later just to see if he sees it. Oof. Oh, Isaiah.
Let's move on to our fourth blooper of the night, and it comes your way from Jacksonville, Florida. We know the Jags are bad, but we didn't know the Jags are this bad.
Strictly a coach's decision, performance-based. So here's Rosas, and that one is blocked at the line of scrimmage. Rosas lost his footing, and Jacksonville is going to come up.
When you watch this play again, ladies and gentlemen, watch the kicker. Just
strictly a coach's decision, performance-based. So here's Rosas, and that one is blocked. The line is.
He slips he slips as he's making the kick. That's how bad things are going in Jacksonville. John, Callan, any thoughts on that?
Did he poop his pants or what happened there? Like how do you trip over your own foot? This isn't the Daniel Jones situation. If this doesn't give more appreciation to Justin Tucker being one of the best kickers of all time, and obviously in the NFL right now, not because he went to UT, but because consistency. This is the problem with a lot of teams. It's hard to keep a kicker or have a consistent kicker. Example, Matt Prater used to be at the Broncos, got some trouble in the NFL, which is a stupid reason too. Of course, goes to Detroit. Zaskowski has been on 3 to 4 teams in the NFL. Either you had a massive BM or just your eyes just went blank because there's absolutely no reason. Like, how do you trip over your own foot? Like, I've done some pretty dumb stuff in my life, but unless you got lessons from Robert Aguayo from the Bucks 3 years ago, there's absolutely no reason for that to happen. You don't have to be the smartest man, but I don't know what else to say. That's just, oh my gosh.
Hey, at least he's not Bill Gramatica, who ripped his ACL celebrating a made field goal with Arizona.
How about Lamar Houston, who was dancing and then tore his ACL celebrating a sack?
Yeah, that's fair.
Remember how when I think we were doing one of an episode of Wild Sports Talk, we were going over the list of like really funny freak injuries.
Wow. Disclaimer: Isaiah got hurt in the making of that GIF, by the way, in case you're curious.
Callan, don't remind me about that. But you can add that Jaguars kicker play or the play to that list of freak plays or freak injuries. But let's move on to our fifth blooper of the night, and that is, we've all had bad days, right? Calvin has had bad days. John has had bad
Yeah,
days.
we get banned from stores. Yeah, bad
But
days.
this is the worst day ever. Take a look.
Okay, is that person that petrified of walking in water? That's more like Mondays. Am I right?
John, any reaction?
The same. I Yes, Christy, they definitely got a shower and probably showers for the next 6 months.
That reminds me of that Dr. Scholl's commercial.
I just I have no words. That's
I got one more thing to say before we move on to our final blooper of the night. Remember how Calvin was saying, like, is that person really petrified of walking in water? Well, I think the driver of that car was thinking the same thing. That's why they just, rode out and boom, into the puddle.
And went faster.
Yeah, splattered that person with water. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our final blooper of the night. We've saved the best for last. If you guys have any popcorn or soda, sit back and enjoy this, because you will probably laugh so hard that you will break a rib from watching this compilation that we've acquired. Take a look.
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong video.
I wonder, did that guy lose his grandkids or potentially like the second or third to last, where the guy missed it and fell into the pit of golf balls? I can't imagine how painful that was, and how did he get out? And imagine, guys, they're swinging the ball and he gets hit. Who think it's a good idea to put the golf ball on top of? Well, we're not going to say what because you saw it in the video, and to think that's a good idea. We've all done crazy things. But man, I would hate to be that person that has to deal with those customers, especially when you destroy the golf club and destroy the TV. Like, I've missed swinging the ball at Top Golf. I'll admit that. I'm terrible. But not to the point where I fall into this bottomless pit of golf balls. And, dude, if that was somebody I knew, I would just walked out and went home. Nope, you're getting your own ride. I'm not dealing with that because I can't imagine the after effect of each of those. Especially, how do you trip and hit yourself like that?
And by the way, you're also warned too to not do the Happy Gilmore style drive. You can't run up and clock it like you're Happy Gilmore on the golf course.
Exactly. I just don't understand how that happens. Like in any, there's no logic. The logic just goes out the window. We've all seen some dumb things. Like that has to top it.
Speaking of dumb things, how about that second to the last one where I think the boyfriend is sitting on or like laying on the ground and he is daring his girlfriend to hit the golf ball off of his you-know-what. I mean, really, you're gonna. I just have like that last one made me laugh so hard, even though it hurt a lot for the guy. But you should be expecting that when you are, daring your girlfriend to hit that golf ball off of your you-know-what. I mean, that's so dumb, man. That is.
Hey, at least he didn't get banned at Target. I mean,
Nothing happened tonight.
Just don't apply to you know where.
Exactly. I'll keep that in mind. But, ladies and gentlemen, we'll dive into our final thoughts now. John, Callan, it was great to have you on for the ride here on the Midnight Express. Thank you for joining me tonight. But, John, I'm going to start with you on this. What is your final thoughts for tonight's show?
Of course, it's always good to be here. I wouldn't be a part of this network just starting today if I didn't believe in what we're doing, if we didn't have any good chemistry on or off camera. Because the chemistry off camera is important, especially with a sports network. And I think that's what we have. I'm still frustrated with the Tom Herman thing. But other than that, I'm good to be here. And Anthony Lynn needs to be fired. But for my team's sake, sign him to a 10-year extension. Do it. You know you want to.
John, speaking of Tom Herman, there's latest reports that Tom Herman himself wants out of Texas. So we'll be following that developing story closely. Callan, there's another Jeff for you. But yes, Tom Herman reportedly wants out of Texas. I don't know how true that report is, but we'll be following it closely. Callan, thank you for joining me along the ride of the Midnight Express tonight. It's been a long, long day for us, with Willard in the morning and then now the Midnight Express. But Callan, what is your final thoughts for tonight's show?
Always nice to be in the analyst chair and producing, not hosting every program. But again, John, glad to have you aboard for the duration of the time they'll be on the MI6 Sports Network full time. And again, folks, kind of stay tuned, though. We got some pretty nice little tidbits coming your way about programming, reshuffling, realignment, and perhaps new programs coming. But also, Steven defeats Steven. Gen Z Clutch defeats Choke Theory by 1 vote tonight. So that sets up Pina Colada versus Gen Z Clutch in round 3 of this half of the bracket, which leads me, folks, to tomorrow's matchup for you, in case you're curious. Luke Walton over LeBron James against Matt Stafford being a top 5 NFL quarterback. That is Isaiah versus Ryan, part 3 already from this ongoing bracket challenge. But with that, Isaiah, we'll go back over to you.
Yes, Callan, it was great having you, doing double duty with me tonight. From now on, I'm definitely going to leave the hosting to the master, from now on. But John, great to have you on the network, man. We're going to do a lot of great things here on the network. As Callan said, tune in. There's going to be a lot of changes. Like Callan said, there's going to be a lot of changes coming to the MI6 Sports Network, so you don't want to miss it. Keep in touch with our Facebook page, our Twitter, Instagram, and all of our social media platform and for the latest going on at MI6. Also, a couple of announcements before we sign off for tonight. We have Maverick Palick, SI writer for the 49ers, as well as Oregon alum. He will be joining me, John, and Callan on a special or on Wild Sports Talk on our normal Mondays, December 21st at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Remember, 5 p.m. Pacific time, not 7:30 p.m. That will be the start for that show. Also, on December 23rd will be our network's Christmas special. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fun talking sports, talking about which is better, the gingerbread or the candy cane, or hot chocolate versus eggnog. We're going to have a lot of fun debates. And also, we're going to open some Christmas presents as well during that Christmas Day special. And then from the 24th to the 27th, Christmas Eve, all the way till the 27th, or a couple of days after Christmas, we will not be on air, ladies and gentlemen. We will not.
Isaiah, read the last part in parentheses again, please.
Yeah, please. Not. N-O-T.
No programming, Isaiah.
Now you're not on your own page. Take a break. We all have lives.
Exactly. We will not have any programming from Christmas Eve all the way until December 27th. We'll be off the air for that entire, I believe it's a weekend, right? Yes, I think it's a weekend. From Thursday all the way until Sunday. We'll see you guys back here on the MI6 Sports Network on Monday, January 28th, which we might have a guest, by the way. We might have a guest on that day, so keep in touch with us. But anyways, guys, it's been great to talk to y'all. It's been so much fun doing the show tonight. Thank you to all the viewers for tuning in. Thank you to Christy Wilson, as well as Shardul Gupta and SG220 for tuning in tonight via YouTube. Don't really know who you are, but thanks for tuning in. But anyways, guys, it's been a great show. Remember, guys, stay healthy, stay safe, wear your mask, and we will see you guys tomorrow for a very special edition of No BS that I guarantee you do not want to miss, because we're going to be talking sports as well as some holiday topics as well. Anyways, guys, have a good night, everyone.
Why do the fantasy football gods hate me? Why?